Hello, everybody, and welcome to this first edition of the webinar Reconnect to Soil, offered by the project Soilscape, funded by the European Union and by the Swiss government. The agenda for today's webinar looks as follows, starting with a welcome remark, followed by a project description, explanation of the photo voice methodology, the first interactive activity on pictures. Later, there will be a further activity to find a pattern in breakout rooms. Then the results of those discussions um, will be part of the webinar. And lastly, there will be time for the participants to explain and tell us how this experience shaped their perception. Beginning with what Soilscape is. The project Soilscape stands for Spreading Open and Inclusive Literacy and Soil Culture Through Artistic Practices and Education. The story of soil science and art plays also a major role in our project, which is an initiative that is harnessing the power of cultural and creative industries, artists, and civil society organizations to promote soil preservation across Europe and beyond. It is planned to last 4 years. It's coordinated by AFES and has a budget of a total of 6 million euro. For more information, you can visit our website, soilscape.eu. There are 19 partners of 11 countries, the ones that you can see on the screen. So there is a very wide collaboration of different institutions. We intend to achieve different key results, among which we want to promote a more innovative communication regarding art and soil. That is why we're also offering today this interactive webinar. For more information, please make sure to visit our website. In the framework of this project, there is an open call, which is open right now until the end of September, and there will be fundings for different projects and different strands, as you can see on the screen. There are transnational, national, and local strands where you can apply with also different objectives, and the fundings are of 100%. The total budget is of more than 2 million euro. And in the framework of this open call, we are also offering this webinar so that the connection between soil and art is not just theoretical, but also applied in a practical way. And we will talk more about the objective of the webinar very briefly, very shortly. For more information on the open call, you can visit also the links that you see on the screen, or also just explore our YouTube channel to have more information on how to prepare a successful application for the open call. The objective of this webinar is to reconnect to soil. That is also the name of the webinar. Because sometimes people do have a connection to soil, but they are not necessarily aware of it. And through photo voice, we can hopefully find this connection again. Also, in the framework of the open call, or considering this context, we allow networking among the participants of the webinar. So there is extra time after the webinar for them to connect and get to know each other because they can apply as a consortium together for the different strands. And last but not least, to offer an entertaining, participative, and hands-on experience to bring people with different backgrounds closer to soil and art. For this webinar, we based our organization, our work on the CPI experience already carried out um, by our colleagues. The CPI experience is also based on photo voice, and as you can see on the screen, um, there were scores given by people, and patterns were also recognized when pictures were shown, pictures of soil. And for more information on this, there will be publications coming up. Um, what we see right now on the screen are the pictures of our participants. Each participant had the task of taking a picture and answering a question. What does the soil, what of a role does the soil play in your everyday life? And do you see art in your picture? So the participants had time to think about it and take one picture answering this question, and they shared the pictures with us, and we chose the ones that you see on the screen. And in the first activity, our participants um, had the chance to match the descriptions in text that they gave with the pictures, showing that um, the perceptions or the ideas we have on something we see aren't universal. They can vary depending on the eyes of the beholder. And for this reason, it is very interesting to come to this um, um, to have this opportunity of confronting perceptions and ideas and thoughts. And this way, we can realize that something that is evident to one person is not necessarily the case for the rest. And there are deeper meanings um, hiding behind a picture. After that, there was a further activity, a group activity, where the participants were divided into two groups, and they were asked to find patterns in the selection of pictures. Are there recurring elements? Do you notice the presence of artistic expressions? How do you see the soil? Do you see soil directly? Were questions intended to guide the participants in finding those patterns. And now we're going to hear uh, the rest of the webinar and also get to know the participants' ideas on the patterns found in soil.
Okay. As I said, we will share we will hear from the two groups and their idea on the idea that were shared on the subgroups. So who wants to start? We have Anna for group 1, and for group 2, I don't know, but someone may have been um,
We didn't
nominated,
decide.
let's
We
say.
didn't decide, but I
Okay.
will do it to be quicker, I think, in the end. If
Okay,
that's
so
okay. Yeah.
Anna, do you want to start to share the ideas? Um,
Yes, I can start. So we mainly see soil in every picture. It's also been mentioned about the colors that we see in the pictures, mainly green and brown. We see food. There is communication as well in some of the pictures, and there is a difference between some of them, which in some pictures we see life, and in others we don't see life at all. There is also work and intention, um, and for Johanna. Johanna's picture, it was more artistic and abstract. What else? Oh yeah, we talked a bit about what is art because we were discussing if we saw any art on the pictures. And is there anything else missing?
Did you say everything on the yellow square
Yeah.
okay, well, if you said anything, the other participants of the group one, do you want to add some stuff? Okay, I guess it's a no when we hear nothing. So, Tobias, do you have some common
Yes.
pattern from this first group, or do you have
Yeah,
some very different ideas?
I mean, there's some overlap, of course, but we lost a bit of time with introducing ourselves, so we didn't have time to discuss what art is. And so at first we looked like everyone basically had some voice and told about the impressions. And in the beginning, the impressions were very concrete, like what you see or what kind of images, like hearts and shadows and light and stones and so on. And then became a bit more connected to the soil, to the roots and mycelium, to plants, gardening, farming, so activities on the soil. And then the next thoughts were a bit more about like how wild soils can be contrasted with the human presence in intervention on these soils, so direct or indirect interventions. And so you see sometimes the bare soil or the covered soil, so not even soil itself. And then on an even broader scale, yeah, so the use of soils by humans, yeah, is very central in all these in many of these images. But what is a recurring pattern is that the three-dimensional perspective, like the perspective into the depth, is almost not shown. So I mean, there's one drilling device, but it's basically almost not shown. So it's like somehow sometimes interconnected or not interconnected materials, but like the really like evolution and complex functioning are not represented and the multi-perspectivity. So it's just by the combination of all image, we now get a broader picture, I think. That's it.
Thank you, Tobias. Thank you for sharing these ideas that you shared between your group too. So before heading to the conclusion and the final of this webinar and workshop, we wanted to know, that this exercise was not only today. This exercise started when you decided to register for the workshop. When you registered and when you had the mission to take a picture, to write a text about your picture. So we would like to know, maybe we have no time for all the people to say something, but for two or three of you, do you think this how did this exercise of taking a picture and of being there today, sorry, and sharing some stuff about your picture, how did this exercise shape your experience on soil? Did it change something or maybe nothing? So who wants to? We will take 2 to 3 people sharing and answering this question.
I can start.
Yes, Anna.
I mean, I think my description was already long about my picture, but I wanted to add that when I had to take a photo for this exercise, for this workshop, it was really hard to choose one. because then I understood that I see soil in so many different ways, and the understanding of soil it's a way more complex than I thought. I mean, I know how complex it is, but I was not so aware about it. So this exercise helped me to understand that, how I see it.
Okay, thank you, Anna, for sharing this experience and this comment.
Thank you.
Is there another person who wants to share?
Shai?
So I have a lot of pictures with soil, and it was interesting that I chose the one that has me inside as well for me.
Mm-hmm.
I usually don't. I always usually choose the ones that only have soil. So so maybe more bring out also the personal connection for me, and the fact that I feel like a part also of soil, you know, like a
Yeah.
breathing, moving soil chunk.
Okay. Thank you. That's a really nice realization, I think, if it's not what you do normally. So it's very interesting. A last comment maybe from one last participant before we head to the conclusion.
It's not about the picture, but I think if we had the text before, we could be it could be easier.
Okay.
Not with yeah. Only the text to
Okay. And so your experience participating to this webinar and choosing the picture and seeing the others' pictures and stuff, do you think this exercise shape your experience on soil and changes something on your vision on soil or not?
no, not really. No,
Okay.
not really.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing, and we will jump to as I said, to the last part of the webinar. We will finish a bit after two. I will give the floor to Tobias. He will make some comments, as I said, about what we did and the results of. So, as he explained a bit before, this is not the true sepia experience that were lived with. I mean, it was longer and we had time to develop more, but we did this methodology for some for the research in the Soilscape project. So he will present some results. I give you the floor, Tobias, for a few
Thank you.
minutes.
Thank you. So I will be very quickly because the time is already over, and just to show you some results what happened in this much bigger study. And so I mean, and you will see several things are repeated here. Although we are not statistically sound, we can see that we very often have the idea of something proximal, like soil is something around us, something surrounding us, a surface, and very rarely we look to the topsoil or into the subsoil. This is the same here. And then the elements, yeah, soil is very often related to vegetation or to artificial construction. So something where we build on or something where vegetation grows, whereas the perspective to the subsoil again is very rare. And then the function of soil, there's one division, I think, so the habitat, so where plants grow. This was a bit less represented here, I think. Here we're more focused on the production function. That means like something comes from the soil which we use for our consumption. And then there's a raw material and building ground, which is soil, like as something where we build with or like where we construct. And yeah, this was also less common in these images here than in the big study that we did. So I think but you see the overall patterns are there, and yeah, about soil evolution, this is too complicated. We go to the next slide. Just for you to see, okay, how did it happen? So there's some photos for example, from some participants from one partner, and you see there's like a soil profile, which is a very typical soil for the region, and whereas there's some other pictures where soil is not even shown, like where soil is, for example, represented by rotting buildings or bridges overgrown. So I think this is very interesting. On the one hand, we have soil and the classical soil science. On the other hand, we have soil as something that we use for production, but also something that is like growing and destroying and so on. And in our research, we found out that we basically could not really fulfill it was not very easy to fulfill the idea to have a regional mapping of soil perceptions, because the soil perceptions are rather transversal. Like everyone sees soils related to a different function, sees soil in a city, and very few people, like the soil scientists, they have a deeper idea about soil variation across different landscapes. And yeah, so we got some very interesting data on soil perception, but we also got a lot of feedback that the people, by participating, that they were getting more aware of soil and the different perspectives on soil, and they enjoyed the perspective or the exchange on these perspectives. But I can also understand Veronique when she says it's not so new, because she's a soil scientist. She's working on that since decades. She knows all these multi-perspectivity. So maybe for her it was not so new, but for other people, like maybe for artists, this is like all new. And so I think, yeah, I come to the next slide, to the final slide, which I just tried to comment a bit about the relation of our findings. So we had a different question a little bit in our research, but overall we saw here now that the production focus was a bit more. There was a bit more scientific perspective, like with the stethoscope and with the soil drilling and so on. So compared to the normal population, we had a bit more scientific perspectives. And yeah, we had no soil profile, unfortunately, but it's a joking, unfortunately. I mean, this is something that I would like as a soil scientist, but yeah, and maybe Veronique and Henri and others. But this is just like, so I hope this deliverable 1.3, where all the results are there, I hope they will be published soon, like probably early next year, unfortunately, because they are revised now. But then I hope you got a little bit of an insight of what this whole methodology is about, and I hope you got a little bit of inspiration from the different perspectives to soil. And we hope that we could bring the sepia a bit downwards to something that inspires you for your work with Soilscape.